All right, let's dive into a really powerful idea from therapy, one that can totally flip how you think about your biggest struggles. It's called externalization. And honestly, the whole thing boils down to one simple, powerful phrase. The person is not the problem.
I mean, think about it for a second. How many times have you heard someone say, or maybe even said it yourself, I am anxious, or I am depressed? We do this all the time, right? We basically weld the problem right onto our identity, making it sound like it's just who we are, permanently.
Okay, but what if that's just completely backwards? What if the anxiety or the depression or whatever it is, what if it isn't you at all? What if it's this separate thing that you're just dealing with? That one little shift in thinking, that's the key that unlocks this whole idea.
So, let's get practical. How does this actually work? Well, the whole technique is really about one thing, creating a bit of distance. It's about learning how to separate you from the thing you're up against.
The fancy official term for this is externalization. And really, it's all about using language to draw a line in the sand. It's like, okay, over here, that's you. All your strengths, your values, your hopes. And way over there, that's the problem. Two separate things.
And this idea is perfectly captured by this quote from Michael White, who was a pioneer in narrative therapy. It's kind of the mantra for this whole approach. The person is not the problem is the problem. I know, it sounds so simple, right? Almost obvious. But when you actually apply that to your own life, whoa, it can be absolutely revolutionary. So what this does is it completely reframes the whole situation. The problem stops being this vague internal feeling that you just can't shake. Instead, it becomes almost like an external character in your story, an entity with its own playbook, its own sneaky tactics. All of a sudden, it's not this confusing cloud inside you anymore. It's an opponent, and you can observe an opponent. You can strategize against an opponent. And you can see this technique in action with just a tiny shift in language. So you go from saying, I am anxious, which is a statement about who you are, right? To asking something like, how has anxiety been trying to trick you lately? See the difference? Bam, just like that. Anxiety isn't who you are anymore. It's this outside force that's doing something to you. And a really cool next step is to actually give it a name. You know, maybe your self-criticism becomes the judge, or that feeling of procrastination, maybe that's the fog. The moment you name it, that huge, overwhelming feeling, it starts to become something more concrete, something you can actually have a conversation with, or negotiate with, or, maybe even tell it to get lost. Okay, so this sounds pretty amazing, right? And it really is incredibly empowering. But, like any powerful tool, we got to look at both sides of the coin. It's really important to get the strengths and the potential pitfalls. The benefits here are huge. For starters, it just lifts this massive weight of shame and guilt off your shoulders. You stop feeling like you're fundamentally broken. Instead, you're a totally capable person who's just dealing with a really tough problem. It also completely changes the vibe in therapy. It's not about a therapist fixing you anymore. Now you're a team working together against this problem. And maybe most importantly, it gives you agency. It creates this little pocket of space for you to breathe and decide how you want to respond, instead of just feeling swallowed up by it all. But is there a dark side to this? I mean, we have to ask, right? Can this technique backfire? Can separating yourself from the problem actually create a whole new set of issues? And well, the answer is yeah, it can, if you're not careful. For one, there's a real risk that someone could use it to dodge responsibility. That whole, it wasn't my fault, the anger made me do it thing. Also, for certain conditions, especially ones with a clear neurological or biological component, this might feel a little, metaphorical. Like it's trivializing something that feels very physical. And you also have to consider culture. In some cultures, the whole idea of separating yourself from your experiences just feels kind of weird and unnatural. So it all comes down to balance. That's the key. A good therapist knows exactly how to use this to help you separate your identity from the problem, but without separating you from your ability and your responsibility to make a change. It's a really subtle distinction, but it's absolutely crucial. And all of this, the good and the bad, the whole technique, it's all building towards one incredible goal, giving you the power to rewrite your own story. When you get right down to it, externalization is really about restoring dignity. It's this powerful tool that doesn't try to label you or put you in a box. It frees you from being defined by your struggles,
from being trapped in what the source material calls problem-saturated stories. It empowers you to pick up the pen and realize that you are the author of your life, and you are completely 100% capable of writing that next chapter.
So, I'll just leave you with this to think about. What's one problem in your life that maybe, just maybe, has gotten tangled up with your identity? And what do you think would happen? What might change if you decided to have a totally different kind of conversation with it?